This is booked for drama, where stories burn, hearts break, the tea is always hot and never a part 2. Today we're diving into Back to the Past, I Gave Them a Future. Let's go. Chapter 1. Mom, I'll marry Nathaniel. Hearing Catherine Brown's words, both my mother, Amethyst Lowe, and I froze in shock. By all logic, since I was still single as the older sister, I should have been the one to marry Nathaniel Cole. I never expected Catherine to step forward on her own. My mother glanced at me, clearly wanting my opinion. Bella, don't you have anything to say? Weren't you and Nathaniel seeing each other? I heard that he walked you to work every day. I was struggling to find the right words when Catherine's sharp laugh cut straight through my thoughts. Mom, how could Nathaniel possibly be dating Bella? He only helps her because of me. I'm the one he likes. A loud buzzing rang in my head. It was as if something inside me snapped. Memories that had never made sense from my last life came flooding back. Before I had died, Nathaniel had written one final line in his journal. If you have a choice, never marry someone you don't love. So the one he loved was Catherine, wasn't it? In my last life, he'd always used me as an excuse, saying he was accompanying me back home. But looking back now, he just needed a reason to see Catherine. Every time he came back from a business trip, he'd bring 2 identical sets of clothes, one for me and one for Catherine. Once, I'd asked him why he always bought us the same outfits and why he couldn't choose something different. He brushed me off flatly. I was too lazy to look at other styles. It was only now that I finally understood. It wasn't laziness. He had seen me as nothing more than her stand-in. And I had lived like that for 40 years. The woman he had wanted all along wasn't me. It was Catherine. My mother's face was filled with shock, her eyes quickly shifting to me. I forced myself to stay calm, closing my eyes to hide the shock and the storm inside me. It seemed that Catherine had been reborn too. Otherwise, how could she so confidently declare that Nathaniel loved her? Chapter 2. After all, I was the one who had spent the most time with him. To everyone else, he would be her brother-in-law. I was just about to speak when the door slammed open. Nathaniel walked in and stopped right in front of Catherine, his eyes overflowing with tenderness. Mrs. Brown, I'm here today to propose to Catherine. I fell deeply in love with her from the very first moment I saw her. Please let us be together. His gaze locked with Catherine. No words were spoken, but the tension between them was undeniable. The shock hit me so hard I bit my lip, my nails digging into my palms until I nearly drew blood. Even though I had known in my last life that he never loved me, watching him propose to Catherine still felt like someone had ripped my heart out. I opened my mouth, ready to speak. Mom, shut up. Nathaniel turned his head toward me, his face stripped of all warmth. Those cold, merciless eyes were the same ones that had watched me die without a shred of pity. Bella, I've already told you I don't love you. The only reason I ever treated you well was because of Catherine. In this life, even if I never marry at all, I will never marry you. I felt like someone had slashed my throat open, leaving a gaping wound. Mom, then why not just let Catherine marry Nathaniel and fulfill the agreement between our families? Catherine lifted her chin, smugly looking at me. Finally, you know your place. I didn't say another word. But inside, I was already torn apart. Seeing them now, I realized they must have been entangled long before. And I had been the fool, left in the dark all along. Chapter 3. After that day, I moved into Briarwood Manor by myself. The Cole residence wasn't far from the Brown residence. They weren't on the same street but were close enough that running into each other was always possible. Since I had chosen to give up the marriage agreement with Nathaniel in this life, I needed to cut things off completely and avoid unnecessary contact. On my first day back at Briarwood Manor, I started cleaning. I didn't expect to find the old marriage agreement tucked away in one of the cabinets. It was the Cole family who had someone write it up years ago. The agreement had been set here, in this very house. 2 crooked, childish names were scrawled across it, mine and Nathaniel's. Back then, we were still little. When I had accidentally found out about the engagement between our families, I told him about it. He had pounded his chest and swore up that he'd marry me. So I secretly wrote our names on it. Thinking for a moment, I crossed out my name and replaced it with Catherine's. Then, I sent the agreement back to the Brown residence and handed it directly to Catherine. She curled her lip and said mockingly, I never thought you were so good at securing a match without the people involved even knowing about it. Despite knowing that she was deliberately mocking me, I held back my temper. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm. Nathaniel's taking me to dinner. Why don't you come with us, so he can admire your little masterpiece? I stayed silent. In my past life, Nathaniel had never once taken me out to eat, saying it was a waste of money. One year, on his birthday, I booked a table at a restaurant, hoping to make him happy. Various dishes were arranged neatly on it. But instead of a word of praise, I got cursed out, accused of being wasteful. My fists clenched tight. I shook off Catherine's hand and turned to leave the Brown residence. Chapter 4. I hadn't gone far when I ran straight into Nathaniel. He was carrying an emerald bracelet, smiling so wide he didn't even notice me. Catherine, look at this bracelet. Do you like it? I bought it just for you. That one simple sentence made me clench my jaw. In my past life, I had liked that very same bracelet. But he had refused to buy it, saying it was too expensive. Yet now, he was smiling ear to ear while presenting it to Catherine. I get employee discounts on it, it's no big deal. One comparison after another pressed down on me like a boulder, and I quickened my steps to leave. But it seemed he had noticed the marriage agreement in Catherine's hands. His face froze, and he asked instinctively, where did you get that? Catherine gave a short laugh, her voice dripping with scorn. My stupid sister gave it to me. He immediately lifted his head in a panic. But I had already turned the corner and disappeared by then. The next morning, I went to work. In the past, Nathaniel would walk me to my workplace. As I was always busy, I cherished those moments we spent alone together. Seeing me arrive alone, one of my colleagues teased, "Where's that boyfriend of yours today?" I smiled faintly. "Don't joke with me, Lucy. He's not my boyfriend but my brother-in-law. He and my sister are getting married soon, so I won't trouble him anymore." The words had barely left my mouth when I heard Nathaniel's and Catherine's voices not far away. I quickly ducked into a corner and heard him asking in surprise, "Where's Bella? Why isn't she here?" But Catherine just pulled him along carelessly. "Maybe she's busy. Come on, let's go get something to eat." By the time I came back, the two of them were gone, swallowed by the crowd. What I didn't expect was that he would circle back. Luckily, I was in the middle of drawing customers to look at goods, and I spotted him immediately. He raised his voice and called my name, "Bella." I didn't answer. By the time he pushed his way through, I had already vanished into the sea of people. Chapter 5. That night after work, I returned to Briarwood Manor. I hadn't even gotten the chance to rest before my mother dragged me back to the Brown residence, saying it was time to start preparing Catherine's wedding. Her wedding with Nathaniel was set for next month, and there was still so much to do. They had to choose her wedding dress and shoes, order the flowers, and finalize the venue. They even needed to pick out suits for the groomsmen and dresses for the bridal party. I frowned immediately, and Catherine caught it. She crossed her arms and shot me an impatient look. "Bella Brown, are you that unwilling to do a little work?" Every time she was upset, she'd call me by my full name. In the past, I'd always swallowed it, telling myself she was my younger sister. But this time, I didn't feel like giving in. I answered flatly, "I have work tomorrow. I don't have time." It was an excuse, but also the truth. I turned to leave the room. Just then, a series of knocks came from the door. "Bella, are you home?" I knew that familiar voice belonged to Nathaniel. He was probably here to ask why I ignored him today. I glanced at Catherine and said lightly, "You go open it. I'm leaving." As I walked out, I heard his low voice from the courtyard. "Catherine, where's Bella? I haven't seen her these past few days." Chapter 6. Nathaniel, why are you asking about her? I'm your fiancé now. Are you still in love with her? His voice caught. After a long pause, he finally said slowly, "Of course not. It's just, I haven't seen her in a while, and there's something I wanted to ask." I didn't hear the rest. Back at Briarwood Manor, I focused on getting my goods ready for tomorrow's work. I didn't expect him to actually show up at my door. Before dawn, heavy knocking echoed through the manor. I frowned and peeked quietly out the window. Seeing it was Nathaniel, I chose to ignore him. No one's home? But if Bella isn't here, where else could she be? He knew me well and knew there were only a few places I ever went. It wasn't until daylight fully broke that he finally left with frustration. By then, it was already past 7 a.m. I'd already lost the will to go to work. So I grabbed my bag and hopped on the bus into the city. In my last life, I rarely ever came downtown. Nathaniel thought wandering around was nothing but a sign of idleness. So my days had been nothing more than endless trips between home and work. At the shopping mall, I ran straight into him and Catherine. They were carrying armfuls of things for the wedding, and I overheard Catherine complaining about me. "Bella is so petty. She's just jealous that you're marrying me, that's why she won't help prepare the wedding." Nathaniel's face was unreadable, giving away nothing of what he was really thinking. I lowered my head, trying to avoid them. But then, unexpectedly, he called my name under his breath. "Bella?" I hurried my steps, bought a movie ticket on a whim, and ducked into the newly opened theater. The movie turned out to be some cheesy romance. The place was packed with couples, which only made me feel even more out of place sitting there by myself. Not long after I settled in, I caught Catherine's voice close by. "Nathaniel, what are you thinking about? You're not even paying attention to the movie." My whole body stiffened. I could feel his gaze searching the seats behind me. He let out a soft sigh and murmured, "Was I really just seeing things?" Chapter 7. I slipped out of the theater before the movie even ended. After making sure no one was following me, I wandered around until nightfall before finally taking the bus home. On the road leading back to Briarwood Manor, I suddenly noticed a long shadow stretched across the ground. Nathaniel was smoking under the moonlight, his face hidden in the dark. I turned on my heel and headed straight for the Brown residence. As soon as I pushed the door open, I saw Catherine flaunting the things she'd gotten with him that day. She held a wedding dress against her body, looking at me with smug delight. "Bella, you've probably never worn anything this nice, have you? But don't worry, after I marry Nathaniel, I'll hand this one down to you. You can wear it at your wedding." Then, she showed off a watch on her wrist, parading it in front of me. The knot of pain in my chest slowly eased into numbness, and eventually, a quiet sense of acceptance settled in. In my last life, when I married Nathaniel, I'd made almost everything with my own hands. He insisted on keeping things simple, and aside from a cheap bottle of face cream, he didn't buy me anything. Yet now, he was generous with Catherine. "Oh, by the way, Nathaniel said we're going to have a wedding banquet, too." Her eyes gleamed with pride as she whispered, "These are all things you never had." I remained quiet, though my hands dug into the chair until the wood creaked. She had indeed been reborn, too. She knew exactly what my wedding with Nathaniel had been like. She had competed with me her whole life. And this time, even her marriage had to outshine mine. To avoid running into Nathaniel, I stayed the night at the Brown residence. When I returned to Briarwood Manor before dawn, I saw cigarette butts scattered all over the ground outside. I had no idea when he finally left. Chapter 8. But after that day, he never came near Briarwood Manor again. Maybe he thought I no longer lived there. One afternoon, after coming back from the market, I finally treated myself to a proper, hearty meal. With both meat and salad laid out, I was about to dig in when a sharp knock came at the door. Open up, open the door. Bella, I know you're in there, don't pretend you're not. I can smell the food you made. Even though I had long since resolved to let Nathaniel go, those words tore open every emotion inside me. In my last life, I cooked and did all the chores for him for 40 years. And now, in this life, all it came to was going our separate ways. I let him pound and shout, even as the neighbors came out to gawk. I didn't open the door or say anything. At last, he stormed off furiously after being urged on by the neighbors. Before leaving, he threw one last line over his shoulder. Bella, if you've got the guts, then hide from me for the rest of your life. He didn't know I had already decided not to have anything to do with him again. The days passed, and the wedding drew closer. The day before it, I handed the wedding gift to my mother. Mom, I'm planning to find a job in the city. I won't be at the wedding tomorrow. She looked at me long and hard, and when she realized she couldn't change my mind, she sighed and nodded. The next morning, I went straight from Briarwood Manor to the bus station. But outside, a long line of motorcycles was parked, with Catherine and Nathaniel standing at the front. In my last life, when I married him, there had been no wedding procession, just a plain meal with the two families. But now, with Catherine, he had pulled out all the stops. The whole station was crowded with onlookers. Yet despite the spectacle, he looked distracted. I slipped through the crowd into the station, bought a ticket to the city, and sat quietly in the bus. Through the window, I could see him carrying Catherine on his back, laughing and playing. The driver shouted, "Anyone headed to the city, get on board. We're leaving." My gaze accidentally met Nathaniel's through the crowd. For a moment, he froze. The bus pulled out quickly from the station. His expression twisted as he rushed to the ticket counter, shouting, "Who was the woman that just got on that bus?" Chapter 9. Looking at Nathaniel's twisted face and hearing his roar, even the bus ticket agent froze. After snapping out of it, she glared at him coldly. "Who are you? Whoever's on this bus has nothing to do with you. How can that be? The one sitting inside is my..." Halfway through the sentence, he suddenly stopped. It hit him that I had nothing to do with him anymore. I was only his sister-in-law now. He had no right to demand answers about where I was going. Just then, Catherine came running up from behind, grabbing his hand. "What's wrong? Did you see someone?" He clutched at her like a drowning man grabbing a lifeline, pushing her forward. "Catherine, hurry and ask them if the person who just got on the bus was Bella." Her excitement from moments ago froze instantly on her face. She shoved him away and said angrily, "Nathaniel, it's our wedding day today. Why do you care where Bella goes or what she does? Gather yourself. I'm your bride now." He stood there stunned, unable to say anything. The bus ticket agent let out a sharp snort, clearly fed up with him. "So you're just a two-timer." Relatives and friends quickly stepped in, apologizing to the bus ticket agent, then dragged him out of the station to continue the wedding. Chapter 10. When they noticed how gloomy he looked, one of his friends tried to comfort him. "Maybe you made a mistake. It's Catherine's wedding day. How could Bella, of all people, not show up?" Those words pulled his attention back. He muttered to himself, like he was trying to hypnotize his own heart. "You're right. Today is Catherine's and my wedding. As the sister, Bella has to be here." Even as he said it, he couldn't convince himself. When he mentioned the word, wedding, his voice grew softer and softer until it was barely audible. The wedding banquet was held at a famous restaurant. Both families' relatives and friends arrived one after another. But until the very end of the reception, I never appeared. Panic churned inside him, but he couldn't slip away. Guests kept crowding around, dragging him off to drink. After going from table to toast and drink with different people, he finally spotted my mother and couldn't hold back anymore. "Amethyst, it's my wedding day with Catherine. Why haven't I seen Bella anywhere?" My mother looked at him calmly, then sighed. "Since you've already married Catherine, you need to rein in thoughts you shouldn't be having." She then pulled an envelope of cash that had been prepared in advance from her coat. "This is telling me to hand it to you." His face drained of color, his legs nearly giving way beneath him. Knowing he wouldn't bother, a shadow of frustration and restless unease settled over him. He endured the reception until the very end. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. Ignoring Catherine's protests, he bolted for Briarwood Manor. This time, he didn't even bother knocking. He shoved the shabby front door open. But when he saw the place completely empty, it was like the air left his body. In a daze, he wandered the rooms, as if he could still smell my lingering scent. There was a movie ticket on the table. The moment he saw the time and hall number printed on it, his pupils shrank in shock. So, seeing me there hadn't been his imagination. Realizing we'd passed each other so closely tore at his chest with an unspeakable pain. In my past life, I had to plead endlessly every time for him to watch a movie with me. And when he finally gave in, it was always with irritation, like he was doing me a favor. Staggering out of Briarwood Manor, he went home in a daze. Catherine sat stiffly on the couch, glaring at him. "The wedding just ended. Where did you run off to?" A strange heaviness settled over him. I used to be the one doting on him, taking care of every little detail after we got married, and in all 40 years of our marriage, I never once confronted him. His eyes fell on the marriage agreement still lying on the table. Suddenly, he remembered the promise we'd made as children. Back then, the agreement had his name written alongside mine. But now, my name has been changed to Catherine's. It felt like a weight pressing hard on his chest, choking him into silence. Chapter 11. After moving to the city alone, I rented a small room near a movie theater and picked up a job there doing odd tasks. In my last life, I loved watching movies. But whenever I suggested going for one, Nathaniel was mostly against the idea. He'd scold me mercilessly, saying it was a complete waste of time. Now, it felt like I was making up for that regret. I practically threw myself into work every day. Before I knew it, half a year had gone by in the city. I'd gone from just another worker doing grunt work to a junior manager at the theater. I never expected to run into Nathaniel there on Christmas. He was standing in line to buy tickets. It was Catherine who spotted me first. "Bella, you're actually here." Her eyes burned with fury and resentment. I couldn't figure it out. I'd been gone for over half a year, doing everything I could to avoid them. So why was she still holding such a grudge against me? But I didn't take it to heart. After being away for over half a year, I had long gotten used to living on my own. "I'm working here. I heard your wedding was quite the event. Congratulations." Chapter 12. That one sentence pierced straight into the bitterness festering inside her. Her glare deepened, and her voice jumped a pitch. "I don't need your hypocrisy. Bella, you were a loser in your last life, and you're still one in this." I stayed calm as I watched her vent and even let out a casual laugh. "As long as you're happy. I hope you always get to be the winner." Then, I turned and left the ticket hall, heading into the theater. Nathaniel heard her shouting. He hurried over with the tickets in hand, his face gloomy and full of irritation. "Catherine, I brought you here to watch a movie. Why are you yelling like this? This is a public place. Show some manners. Compared to Bella, you're really no match at all." There was a trace of longing in his voice. And that was exactly what set Catherine off. She spun around and stormed off, not sparing him a shred of dignity. He could only swallow his anger and grab her hand. "You're the one who wanted to watch the movie, and I bought the tickets already. Where are you going now? I don't want to anymore, okay?" She sneered at him. "Are you here for the movie? Please, you just wanted an excuse to see Bella." My colleague pulled me aside and told me that the two of them were fighting in the theater. I hid in a corner silently, watching their quarrel play out. "So you regret marrying me, huh? Then go to Bella. See if she even gives you the time of day." "Catherine, what nonsense are you spouting? When did I ever say I was going to her? Know that you've been secretly looking for her all these months. You just can't forget her." She ripped away the cover hiding his heart. Then, she added with sarcasm, "I know exactly where Bella's hiding." "Aren't you curious? Really?" His face lit up with excitement. His response only made her angrier, jealousy blazing in her eyes. "Too bad I'm not telling you. I want you to spend the rest of your life never seeing her again." Her words left his face pale one moment, flushed the next. His chest heaved with anger, and without hesitation, he raised his hand and slapped her. She froze and stared at him in shock. She couldn't understand how he could hit her in just over one sentence. Even though he had changed a lot after the wedding, he had never once laid a hand on her. Suddenly, she noticed me, tucked away in the corner. Her hateful glare landed on me. I rubbed my forehead helplessly. Maybe this was just me getting caught in the crossfire. But I didn't step in. I told my colleague to throw them both out of the theater. I was on the late shift that night. Around midnight, the office phone suddenly rang. When I picked up, I heard Catherine's voice, which was filled with hatred. "Bella, you must be over the moon knowing Nathaniel still isn't over you, even after marrying me. But don't get too smug. I'll never let him be with you, no matter what." I didn't say a single word until the line went dead. In my last life, I'd already done far too much for Nathaniel. This time, even if they fought to the death, it had nothing to do with me. Chapter 13. After that fiasco, the new year came quickly. I didn't want to go back, but since it was Catherine's first year married to Nathaniel, she'd probably be spending the holiday with his family. That left my mother alone at home for New Year's, and I couldn't shake the worry. So after thinking it over, I bought some gifts for the holiday and went home. I didn't return until New Year's Eve. I hadn't expected to run into Catherine. It was like she had been waiting for me, because the second she saw me, she started mocking me with that fake, syrupy tone. "Bella, it's already New Year's Eve and you're just getting home. You must have made quite a bit of money these past months. I wonder how much money you're giving Mom this year." My mother frowned, trying to smooth things over. "It doesn't matter if she gives one or not, as long as you both come home for the new year, that's enough. Bella, you've been gone almost a year now. Is there anything you've been craving? I'll cook it for you right away." I squeezed my mother's hand, telling her not to fuss. Then, I pulled out the gifts I'd bought in the city. I gave Catherine a quick, cool glance. I didn't make that much money, but at least I earned it myself. "These gifts aren't anything fancy, probably too cheap for you." Her face flickered with irritation. I knew better than anyone what kind of person she was. In my past life, she was lazy and spoiled, and in this life, with Nathaniel supporting her, she'd never bother working either. Then, I handed my mother a stack of money. The moment Catherine saw how thick it was, jealousy flashed in her eyes and her jaw tightened. Just then, there was a knock at the gate. On New Year's Eve, not a lot of people would show up here. Chapter 14. Frowning, I whispered something to my mother and slipped into the woodshed to hide. Not long after, Nathaniel's voice thundered across the courtyard, wild and furious. "Bella, get out here. I know you're back." Then came Catherine's bitter, angry voice. "Nathaniel, I told yo." But he immediately cut her off seriously. "No way. Bella's not here. Those gifts are from me. Those gifts are only sold in the city. You haven't been to the city alone. How would you have bought them? And there are 3 sets of cutleries on the table, but only 2 of you live here. Bella is definitely back. She's just hiding from." His reasoning left Catherine completely speechless. I hadn't expected him to be so observant. "Bella, stop thinking you can hide from me. I'll stay right here until you come out. I want to see how long you'll keep this up." Through the crack in the woodshed door, I saw him standing guard right there in the courtyard. Catherine clutched at his sleeve, her face streaked with tears. Nathaniel, what's that supposed to bring me home for the new year, and now you're just going to stand here waiting for Bella? Instead of answering, he fell into a rare, stony silence. I knew then he wasn't leaving anytime soon, so I slipped out the side door instead. I had barely reached the end of the alley when I heard hurried footsteps behind me. I ducked down by the wall of a nearby yard. His hoarse, desperate voice rang out. Bella, if you've got guts, come out and face me. What's the point of hiding like this? Whatever's between us, we can talk it out. But no matter how loud he shouted or how raw his voice grew, I never showed myself. Catherine's crazed laughter split the night. You can't find her, can you? Let me be frank, she did come back, but so what? You still can't find her. Nathaniel, I'll make sure you never find Bella as long as you live. The sound of a slap echoed. Her laughter faltered for a moment. Then, before long, she laughed again, more deranged than before. It was like the last illusion in his eyes finally shattered. Nathaniel's voice was thick with regret as he said, I can't believe I didn't see you for who you really are. I can't believe I was blind enough to marry you. You don't even measure up to a fraction of Bella. But she just shrugged it off, laughing in his face. So what? I'm your wife, and she's not. You married me in this life, and there's no getting rid of me. Chapter 15. When word got out that I was back, Nathaniel started showing up at the house almost every day. I had no choice. On the second day of the new year, I told my mother I was leaving. Once I left home, I got back on the bus heading into the city. I had barely sat down when I heard shouting from the station. Nathaniel had spotted me. He hadn't even bought a ticket and just tried to rush inside. The security guard caught him and blocked the way. Let me through. I need to find someone. The guard didn't budge. Sir, buy a ticket first. Once you've got one, you can go in. Grinding his teeth, he had no choice but to go back and get a ticket. Thankfully, the bus I was on was already full. By the time he came back, the bus was just about to pull out. He threw himself in front of it, waving his ticket frantically. Stop, I need to get on this bus. Sorry, sir, this one's full. You'll need to wait for the next. Of course, he wouldn't give up that easily. He clung to the bus door like a madman. No, my wife's on this bus. I have to be on it, too. The driver glanced inside, clearly uncomfortable, and asked, which one of you is this man's wife? Maybe you could both wait for the next bus? Nobody answered. Finally, I said calmly, Mister, since no one's stepping forward, just go ahead. I've got things I need to take care of. Standing outside, Nathaniel must have heard me. He started pounding on the door. Bella, it's me. It's Nathaniel. Come down and talk to me. I have so much I need to say to you. But inside the bus, it stayed silent. This time, it wasn't just me urging the driver. Other passengers started yelling for him to drive, too. Soon enough, the guard dragged Nathaniel back, and all he could do was watch as the bus pulled away. Chapter 16. When I got back to the theater, I threw myself into work. It was the holiday rush, and the place was packed with moviegoers. The whole theater was overwhelmed, and I even had to step in as a greeter. Thankfully, the New Year season passed quickly. One afternoon, I received a call from Catherine again. Somehow, Nathaniel had found out I was working at the theater. He was already on his way over. I knew why she was calling, but I didn't care. After exchanging shifts with my colleague and making sure everything was covered, I left the theater and went back to my little rented room. As soon as I stepped out of the building, I saw Nathaniel running toward me. Of course, things didn't work out again this time. But once he knew where I worked, he started showing up every week, trying to catch me off guard. Luckily, Catherine would warn me in advance every time, and I managed to slip past him. Until one day, after countless attempts, he finally planted himself right at the box office doors, blocking the only way in and out. I holed up in the theater office with a blank face, not even stepping out for dinner. My colleague had to bring it to me instead. By late night, the theater was deserted except for the overnight staff. Nathaniel's whole body gave out, and he collapsed to the ground with a hoarse, desperate roar. Bella, get out here. I know you're in there. If you don't come out this time, I'm not leaving. If he wouldn't leave, then there were ways to make him. I had a colleague call security, who helped drag him away. After making sure he was gone, I snuck out the back door. To get away from his endless stalking, I put in for a transfer the very next day. A new theater had just opened in another city and was short-staffed, so they sent me there. For the next 3 years, I heard nothing from either Nathaniel or Catherine. I would send my mother a letter every now and then, just to let her know I was safe. I never mentioned where I was or what I was doing, as I found it too risky. It wasn't until the 4th New Year that I came home in secret. This time, my mother was sitting all alone, but the table was still set with 3 places. That was when I found out Catherine had divorced Nathaniel. He had beaten her so badly she was left crippled and unstable, living in a mental hospital, while he had gone to prison for assault. They said he wouldn't be out for at least 10 years. It all started when he found out Catherine had been tipping me off every time. Enraged, he'd grabbed a stick and beat her mercilessly. After I learned what happened, I went to see Catherine the next day. She sat on the bed, flailing her arms. This time, I'm the real winner. I could only shake my head. I paid her medical fees in full, then took my mother with me to the city where I worked. I'd let everything in the past go, as the days ahead were still long. The end. And that's a wrap on today's reading here at Booked for Drama. If you felt anything, rage, swoon, secondhand heartbreak, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow drama lovers. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments. Until next time, keep reading, and keep the drama on the page.